Very good morning to all of you. Welcome back to the channel. So here we're starting with the analysis video for 13th of October 2023. So we see that India reiterates the call for a sovereign Palestine state. So as far as the Israel-Palestine war is concerned, or when we talk about the recent attack by Hamas on Israel, firstly, India do not support any kind of terrorist activity in any form anywhere in the world. Secondly, India stands by the two-state solution. We support that the sovereign territorial rights which have been claimed by Palestinians, they must be delivered to them. And this is the only possible and sustainable solution to this problem, because it is not just limited between Israel and Palestine, or Israel and Hamas, but it has a global impact. So solution is very important. That too, it needs to be a reliable and sustainable solution. So we have undertaken Operation Ajay to bring the Indian diaspora, which is located in Israel. So New Delhi's long-standing and consistent policy on Palestinian state remains unchanged. That is what has been highlighted. Then when we talk about retail inflation, so it cools from 6.83% in August to 5% in September. So it is moving more closer towards the target level of 4%. So that's a good development. And India's retail inflation, it is to 5%. And apart from this, when we talk about the core inflation, so even that remains within this tolerance band between 2% to 6%. So that is why also we were seeing that we had the expectations कि monetary policy committee repo rate increase nahi karegi, because as I just said, कि core inflation is in the safer territory. So हमारे लिए जो cause of concern है, that is more of the food inflation, because वहाँ पे ज़्यादा हमें volatility देखने को मिलती है, and that is more of because of the supply side reasons and other demand side reasons. So when we talk about the changes in the repo rate or changes in the monetary policy, so that is more suitable when it comes to dealing or controlling inflation related to demand side factors. So when we talk about hunger index, India ranks 111 out of 125 countries. So it shows the poor state when we talk about the level of hunger in India. So we always talk about nutritional security. So firstly, again, when we now talk about this, the figures of the hunger index, we need to also look into and ensure that the food is available. It is available, it is accessible, and it is affordable at the same time. So this is basically India's performance for the third year in a row. Basically, this is a global index, which is when we talk about the methodology which is used to calculate this index, so that is not supported by India. We say that there is flawed methodology which is adopted, and that is why we are not going by, or we do not support the results of it. So Afghanistan, Haiti, and 12 sub-Saharan countries, they have performed worse than India on this global hunger index. And India's ranking, it is based on the score of 28.7 on a 100-point scale. So 0, it is the best score, which means there is no hunger in a particular country, and 100 is the worst score. So this categorizes India's severity of hunger as serious. But apart from this, we are having certain measures. When we talk about the successful measures, I should say that in terms of the PDA scheme that we have, and even the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana that was run after the COVID-19 impact. So these are few schemes which again ensure that we are targeting at micro level. So government revokes the node to test new vaccines on stray dogs. So when we talk about cruelty towards animals, firstly, we are having the law also prevention of cruelty towards animals. So government committee tasked with the animal welfare and protection, it has withdrawn a 2022 circular. So circular, it was saying that basically government allows stray dogs to be used in vaccine trials. And this now notification has been withdrawn. Definitely, this would be against the animal health, or when we talk about One Health, or when we talk about cruelty towards animals. So here we have the control and supervision of the experiments on animals committee, it recommended कि जो stray dogs हैं, they may be used for new vaccine trials and challenge these studies of vaccines with the condition that these animals ought to be quarantined and then rehabilitated as per its guidelines. So herein it says that the batches of the established vaccines, they are being tested. Only the dogs which are coming to clinics, they can be used for safety or the potency trials, though not for the challenge trials. So let's take up this case study view from the hill. So red-brown soil of the bauxite belt in southern Odisha's eastern Ghats is seeing an escalation of interest in mining. So herein comes the interest, safeguarding the interest of the tribal population versus the development. So with the government, it has auctioned several sites to private companies, processing it into aluminium. So definitely this comes at a cost of the environmental health and the tribal people who have inhabited the land for generations. So even if we go forward with these developmental projects, when we talk about the mining related projects, so it becomes important when we talk about the rehabilitation of the tribals, that needs to be taken into account. And जब हम rehabilitation की भी बात करते हैं तो which location they are being rehabilitated to or translocated to, वहाँ पे उनके लिए livelihood opportunities क्या exist करती है नहीं करती है, what is the environment around there, so ये सारी चीजें भी matter करती हैं. And जो again some of the permanent losses would be a part of this would be the biodiversity loss. So उसकी वजह से जो ecological disbalance create होता है, that is also one of the major problems. And उसके लिए कोई ऐसा we don't have a permanent solution या sustainable alternative in order to prevent the biodiversity loss. So herein, we see the world has recognized the monumental efforts of the Dongria Khons in saving the Niamgiri hills from the bauxite mines, and their involvement in the current resistance, it could turn public opinion against the mining. So final go ahead abhi nahi diya gaya hai. And as we have again the scheduled areas, so tribal people, they have this power कि if again basically उनका opinion ज़्यादा matter करता है when it comes to starting up such projects in the tribal regions. Now, recently we saw कि बिहार में जो कास्ट सर्वे किया गया, there are again apprehensions around कि जो 50% सीलिंग लगाई गई है, लीगल सीलिंग ऑन द रिजर्वेशन, क्या उसको रिकंसिडर किया जाना चाहिए? So this was the ceiling which was upheld and which was announced by the Supreme Court in the Indira Sahni case of 1992. Now caste survey के बाद जो again हमें data मिला है, outcome मिला है, through that we'll be seeing कि different communities will be demanding more reservation according to their proportion in a particular state. So is चीज को again this goes, the ball goes into the court of Supreme Court. So we can't say कि अभी क्या final चीज है. So once Supreme Court comes with a final verdict on this thing कि 50% ceiling क्या इसको revise करना important है या किया जाना चाहिए, क्या इसको increase किया जाना चाहिए नहीं, वो main question है. So कहीं ना कहीं if 50% ceiling would be increased, so that would be again indicating, according to me, it would indicate inequality, because 50% से ज्यादा अगर आप reservation दे रहे हो तो general category उनके लिए जो opportunities हैं वो और limited हो जाएंगी. And apart from this, जब हम बात करते हैं even reservation in the promotion, so that is also a different topic. So herein also we have different Supreme Court judgments like the M. Nagaraj case of 2006. So herein Supreme Court it announced कि basically 3 conditions जब हम बात करते हैं अगर आपको reservation promotion देना है to the SCs and STs. So 3 conditions meet होनी चाहिए. You need to have proper data जो reflect करेगा उनकी backwardness. We need to also ensure कि the reservation should not compromise with the efficiency of the administration. So again, this was, I would say, amended या इसको change किया गया in the subsequent judgment in the Jarnail Singh case. So उसमें Supreme Court said कि आपको it is not important कि data collect करना to reflect their backwardness. That was basically withdrawn as a condition जो पहले announce की गई थी in the M. Nagaraj case.
मेरा ये मानना है इस टॉपिक के अंदर कि ऑब्वियसली रिजर्वेशन के ऊपर हमारे यहाँ ब्लैक पॉइंट्स भी हैं, वाइट पॉइंट्स भी हैं, लेकिन हमें थोड़ा ग्रे में देखना चाहिए। तो जनरली होता क्या है लोकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में कि रिजर्वेशन के जो सर्टिफिकेट्स होते हैं 5-5 हज़ार रुपए में बिकते हैं।
Yes.
तो वो क्यों बिकते हैं, उसका यही रीजन है कि एक तो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन अथॉरिटीज जो हैं वो इतनी करप्ट होती है कि वो 5 हज़ार रुपए के लिए रिजर्वेशन जो एफर्मेटिव एक्शन है स्टेट का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने जो दिया है उसको फ्री में खैरात मान के बांटने लग जाती है पैसे के चक्कर में। नंबर 1 तो उनके ऊपर थोड़ा स्ट्रिक्ट कंट्रोल होना चाहिए, उनको रियलाइज करना चाहिए कि इसका मेन मकसद क्या है। हम हमेशा जो हमारी जो टॉप मोस्ट पॉलिटिकल विल होती है उसको क्वेश्चन ना करके नीचे जो हमारी जो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन अथॉरिटीज हैं उनके जो एक्शंस हैं उन पे हमें ध्यान देने की जरूरत है अगर हम इसमें रिफॉर्म चाहते हैं। तो नंबर 1। नंबर 2, इसमें किस तरीके से लाया जाए। तो सबसे बड़ी चीज है कि हमारे यहाँ जैसे हेल्थ के लिए अब नेशनल हेल्थ डाटा अथॉरिटी बनाई गई है। नेशनल हेल्थ अथॉरिटी के अंदर जो डाटा हमारा होगा कि आप किसी भी हॉस्पिटल में जाए, किसी भी स्टेट में जाए, तो आपका एक लॉगिन से आपकी पूरी हेल्थ डिटेल्स आ जाएगी। आपका जितना भी 2 साल पहले 10 साल पहले का ट्रीटमेंट है वो आ जाएगा। तो इसी तरीके से जो आधार, पैन और सारी चीजों को यूज करके एक नेशनल सिटीजन आईडी बननी चाहिए जिससे ये पता लगे कास्ट क्या है, जिससे ये पता लगे इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस क्या है, जिससे ये पता लगे कि एक्चुअल में उसका स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग क्या है, जिस उससे ये हम निर्धारित कर सकते हैं कि रिजर्वेशन इसे देनी भी चाहिए या नहीं देनी चाहिए। क्योंकि अगर हम देखें 50% रिजर्वेशन की लीगल सेलिंग, तो अभी 10% इसको बढ़ा दिया गया है, ये हो गई 60% बिकॉज ऑफ द ईडब्ल्यूएस। लेकिन अगर आप ग्रास रूट पे देखेंगे तो ईडब्ल्यूएस रिजर्वेशन इज मोर today prominent as far as the SC/ST, because in various government exam what we are seeing that there is a starking difference between the ceiling, between the marks and between the, I would say that cutoff. Because of that, the person who belongs to OBC, they are also changing their status of OBC and getting into the EWS by giving a lot of money. So I think ये 2 steps इमीडिएट बेसिस पे जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स हैं उनको लेने चाहिए। एक डाटा तैयार करना चाहिए, जितने भी बेनिफिशियरीज हैं उनका प्रॉपर सर्विलेंस होना चाहिए। हमारे यहाँ पटवारी एंड वीडियो लाइक ऑफिसर्स हैं, सो दे शुड एक्चुअली गो टू द होम्स, दे शुड वेरीफाई द डॉक्यूमेंट्स, प्रॉपर्टी पेपर्स कि एक्चुअल में कितनी प्रॉपर्टी है। द पीपल हु आर लिविंग इन रेजिडेंशियल सोसाइटीज, दे आर getting these kind of certificates. So I think the data management and number 2, the surveillance over the implementing authority, these are the 2 important steps to reform the reservation. And obviously other steps हमारे यहाँ हैं जो बोलते हैं कि reservation को economic basis पे देना चाहिए, लेकिन in the constitution it is also mentioned that for specifically for the SCs and ST, the reservation is not for economic basis only, it is for social basis only. But if you talk about OBC, so there is no social base as such, that is economy only. So I think the multiple steps needs to be taken, and primary I've told you the 2 steps which should be taken immediately.
Okay. Again, अब यहाँ पे since बिहार में कास्ट सेंसस हुआ है तो सिमिलर टॉपिक, नाउ देयर इज डिमांड कि इंडिया लेवल पे, पूरा पैन इंडिया लेवल पे कास्ट सेंसस किया जाना चाहिए. So is there a relation between caste, religion, poverty and discrimination? To some extent this is true. What do the social economic indicators वो क्या show करेंगे? Does this pattern extend to the education and employment also? और जब हम informal sector की बात करते हैं तो is the informal sector disproportionately populated by the STs, SCs and OBCs? So These are some of the areas. So let's understand these dynamics. Socio-economic data क्या indicate करता है? तो intersection between the class and the caste deprived deprivation in the Indian society, it is evident in the gamut of socio-economic statistics. So herein जब हम caste की बात करते हैं तो social element आ जाता है, and income की बात करते हैं तो economic element आ जाता है. तो average monthly per capita consumption expenditure की अगर हम बात करें of STs, SCs and OBCs households in the rural areas, they were respectively around 65%, 73% and 84% of compared to the other category, or या तो आप general category उसको समझ सकते हो according to the National Sample Survey of 2011-12. So urban areas में जो average monthly per capita consumption expenditure tha, that was around 68%, somewhere around similar figures see. And persistence of inequality across the caste categories in India can also be seen in the multidimensional poverty estimates, which are based on the National Family Health Survey data. So these are few outcomes in the data related to this. So it is basically based on entire data, multidimensional poverty, headcount ratio. Basically अगर हम इसको socially समझते हैं, जो भी हमारे पास indexes हैं, आप poverty को connect करोगे with the caste or the religion. So herein we are having those outcomes. So the disproportionate concentration of poverty among the STs, SCs and OBCs and Muslims in India, it have remained stable over time. So this clearly it is indicating कि जो discrimination है, exclusion है based on the caste vis-a-vis STs, SCs and OBCs, as well as religion के basis पे, particularly with regard to the Muslims, it have a causal relationship with the poverty and deprivation. तो एक ये linkage भी exist करता है. Education and employment sector की अगर हम बात करें तो जो pattern है of the caste based deprivation, it can be clearly seen in the official data on education and employment also. So caste based deprivation or discrimination है वो भी practice किया जाता है. जो general category है उनका, they have much higher proportion of the literates, secondary, high school pass outs and graduates and postgraduates compared to these three caste. Apart from this, employment status की बात करें तो over 30% जो workforce है general category में, they had a regular job, while the proportion of regular या salaried workers की हम बात करें in the OBCs and SCs, they were around 20% and SCs were just over 12%. So central government itself, it is one of the largest employers. जब हम formal sector की बात करते हैं, employing around 18 lakh persons as on January 2021. So 52% जिनमें से they belong to the general category. So proportion of the employees, now जो बाकी बच गया, that gets divided into SC, STs and OBCs. And when did the caste surveys it begin? So यहाँ पे भी again जो factual चीजें हैं, they are important. So we see जो caste wise enumeration the population था, it was introduced under the British colonial administration 1881 में. So it continued till 1931 census and independent India के बाद government did abandoned the full caste enumeration on the apprehension कि it would strengthen the caste divisions and perpetuate the caste system. So इस वजह से post independence इसको withdraw कर दिया गया. So caste system, it has still persisted and it is flourished in independent India even without the caste census, also along with its discriminatory and exclusionary consequences. So we have been seeing different incidences which leads to communalism and its spread. So report to the Backward Classes Commission, which was headed by BP Mandal, it was submitted in 1980. It had the following dictum inscribed at the outset that there is equality only among the equals. So if you want to equate the unequals is to perpetuate inequality. So this was again highlighted. So inequality still उस time पे भी exist कर रही थी, even if we didn't go ahead with the caste survey. So Mandal Commission, they reported and they extrapolated from the caste to the community-wise population figures of 1931 census and estimated जो हमारी combined population of Hindu and non-Hindu OBCs, that were around 52% of our total population back then. So it also arrived at a crucial conclusion कि caste, it is also a class of citizens, and if caste as a whole it is socially and educationally backward, so reservation can be made in favor of such a caste on the ground it is socially and educationally backward class of citizens within the meaning of even Article 15 Clause 4. So जो Article 15 Clause 4, it forms part of the fundamental rights of the Constitution. It enables the state to make special provisions for the advancement of socially and educationally backward classes of citizens. So population share of OBCs का जो estimate किया गया 52% था, only 27% reservation को दी गई government services में, technical and professional institutions में. So this was a part of the recommendation of the Mandal Commission, and again this was upheld under the Indira Sahni case also 1992 में. उसमें again the category of creamy layer that was excluded from taking the benefits or enjoying the benefits of reservation. So why there is opposition to a caste census? So opposition to a nationwide caste census, it has been aired from some quarters on the ground कि जो revelation of the exact population share of OBCs, if that is greater than or equal to 52% as estimated by the Mandal Commission, it would trigger demands for enhancing the 27% reservation quota for the OBCs. So this is again one apprehension which is associated कि अगर हम pan India level पे पूरा caste census करेंगे and if जो ये figure है जो मंडल कमीशन ने estimate करी थी 52% of the OBCs जो हमारी total population में उनका share है, अगर suppose ये increase हो जाता है तो 52% जो उनको जो basically 27% reservation दी गई थी that was on the basis of जो उनका 52% share था. But if that increases, so demand for reservation would also increase. So such demands, however, they were already set into motion following the amendment of the Constitution. 103rd Amendment 2019 में जो किया गया, which provided 10% reservation EWS category, जो भी प्रवेश मेंशन भी कर रहे थे within the general category excluding SC, STs and OBCs and admission to the public and the private education institutions and as well as civil posts and services. So the law it breached जो 50% ceiling impose की गई थी and it faced legal challenges but it was ultimately upheld by majority judgment of the Supreme Court. So Chief Justice of India also dismissed a review petition against this judgment. So basically अब जो ceiling है that now stands at 60% and this has been upheld by the Supreme Court itself. So this is there and अगर वो ये basically 60% already हम reach कर चुके हैं, अगर demand और increase होती है तो where are we going to actually stop? So what should be the way forward? So given जो wide divergences exist करती है of the OBC population thrown up by the various official sample surveys ranging from around 41% to 46% between the time period of 2015-16 to 2021-22, only a full caste enumeration it can help in ascertaining an accurate number. तो वो तभी possible हो पाएगा and more importantly ascertaining the numbers or जो proportion है of individual caste also within OBC categories also. That is also assumed much significance in the light of the concerns regarding reservations and other benefits of the OBCs getting concentrated among the certain dominant caste groups. So even जो reservation हम OBCs की बात करते हैं तो उसमें भी reservation is getting or we can say it is being misused or taken advantage by certain जो dominant caste groups exist करते हैं OBCs के under. तो इसलिए we need to have or the importance of getting a proper data with clarity कि OBCs के under भी जो sub caste हैं उनका कितना proportion of share है in terms of the population. So Bihar caste survey for instance वो ये show कर रहा है कि there are around 122 small caste groups which are combined together in the extremely backward classes category and they account for 36% of the state's population, which is the largest share among all the social categories. So Justice Rohini Commission जो है, it was constituted in 2017 to examine sub-categorization of OBCs in the central list and they submitted the report. So nationwide socio-economic caste census survey, it is necessary to evolve scientific criteria for the sub-categorization and so basically we are focusing कि scientific criteria होना चाहिए and we can't go ahead in an arbitrary manner. तो इसलिए importance of socio-economic caste census becomes important and this would also be necessary for all states also which have their own state level OBC list given the wide variety in the caste composition that exists in India. So these are some of the important.
सोशो कास्ट इकोनॉमिक सेंसस अगर जहाँ तक बात है इसकी तो थोड़ी रेलिवेंस दिखती भी है। कास्ट सर्वे की रेलिवेंस मुझे आप एक रेलिवेंस दिखा दीजिए जो बिहार में चल रही, मुझे तो एक भी नहीं दिख रही।
बिहार में बस ये है कि जो कास्ट सेंसस किया गया है इसमें जैसे कि
क्या फायदा होगा उसका, मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ।
जैसे हम यहाँ बात करें सब कैटेगराइजेशन ऑफ रिजर्वेशन की तो सब कास्ट का जो डेटा है विद इन वन मेजर कास्ट जैसे यहाँ पे जो हाईलाइट हुआ है थ्रू दिस कास्ट सर्वे कि एक्सट्रीमली बैकवर्ड क्लास जो 36% ऑफ द शेयर कॉन्स्टिट्यूट करती है बिहार की टोटल पॉपुलेशन में उस कैटेगरी के अंदर भी देयर अराउंड 122 स्मॉल कास्ट ग्रुप्स जो आइडेंटिफाई किए गए हैं थ्रू दिस कास्ट सर्वे। तो विद क्लैरिटी आपको बेसिकली ये और पता चल जाएगा कि माइक्रो लेवल पे जो रिजर्वेशन भी दी गई है वो कौन सी कैटेगरी में ज्यादा कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड है।
नहीं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ये तो बल्कि हमारी जो इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी है उसके लिए भी एक खतरा क्रिएट कर देगा ये कास्ट सर्वे जो बिहार में हो रहा है। मैं बताता हूँ कैसे। आप मान लीजिए, क्योंकि सोशो इकोनॉमिक कंसेंसस अगर करते तो वो
हम्म।
अच्छा रहता। उससे ये पता लगता रिजर्वेशन कितनों को मिल रही है, एजुकेशन कितनों को मिल रही है। एक कास्ट के अंदर ही कैटेगरी करने के बाद भी ये पता लग रहा है कि ब्राह्मण्स में भी कितने ब्राह्मणों को सरकारी नौकरी है, कितनों को नहीं है, और कितनों का एजुकेशन लेवल क्या है। वो तो
ठीक
एक
है,
अच्छी
यहाँ
चीज है।
पे बस एक पॉइंट मैं ऐड करूंगी बीच में, आप फिर कंप्लीट करना। आप बोल रहे हो जो सोशो इकोनॉमिक कास्ट सेंसस है, वो सेंसस है, सेंसस सिर्फ नेशनल लेवल पे यूनियन गवर्नमेंट कर सकती है, और जो सर्वे वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट भी कर सकती है। तो इसलिए बिहार वेंट विद दिस कास्ट सर्वे। तो एक ये प्रॉब्लम भी है कि बिहार एज अ स्टेट, इंडिविजुअल स्टेट्स अपना सोशो इकोनॉमिक कास्ट सर्वे या सेंसस नहीं कर सकते।
नहीं, उनको जरूरत ही नहीं थी ना, सेंटर खुद कर लेगा। मैं बताता हूँ कि दिक्कत क्या हो सकती है। बिहार ने मतलब ये जो स्टेप है, इससे क्या दिक्कत होगी। मान लीजिए कि कास्ट सर्वे जो बिहार ने किया, उसमें ये पता लगा कि जो ब्राह्मण्स का शेयर है वो 25% है अभी। मतलब जो उनकी कास्ट है बिहार में 25% है, और
हम्म।
जो दलित, उनकी आप मान लीजिए कि 40% है।
ठीक
अब
है।
इससे हुआ क्या कि एक सेंस ऑफ इनइक्वालिटी और एक रिवेंज की भावना क्रिएट होगी ब्राह्मण्स के अंदर, कि व्हेन दीज पीपल आर सो मच, व्हाई वी शुड नॉट इंक्रीज आवर पॉपुलेशन, इट विल लीड्स टू मोर पॉपुलेशन ऑफ ब्राह्मण्स।
हाँ, ये कुछ रेpercussions हो सकते हैं। हाँ, मतलब नेगेटिव फॉलोअप्स डू एग्जिस्ट, और कंपैरेटिवली नेगेटिव ज्यादा एग्जिस्ट करते हैं व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द कास्ट सर्वे जो किया गया है। और एज वी आल्सो टॉक्ड अबाउट बिफोर कि ये पोलराइजेशन भी क्रिएट कर सकता है सोसाइटी में, जो आपने बोला अभी।
Yes, I think the polarization and mobilization of votes during the elections. So obviously the negative fallouts are more, as you just mentioned. So socio-economic caste census should be done by the central government in
हम्म।
every state on a pan-India level, rather than allowing the states to do this, because this is a very grave concern as far as the demographic dividend and the internal security of the country is concerned.
तो यहाँ पे एक प्रॉब्लम ये भी है, जैसे आपने बोला कि अलाउ नहीं करना चाहिए स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को, तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इस पे भी क्लैरिटी दी है कि आप स्टेट्स को रोक नहीं सकते हो फ्रॉम डूइंग दिस थिंग। तो ये चीज भी एग्जिस्ट करती है। तो नाउ इट बिकम्स इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर द स्टेट्स टू अंडरस्टैंड कि स्टेट्स के लिए कितना डेट्रीमेंटल हो सकता है द आउटकम्स ऑफ द कास्ट सर्वे। सो यहाँ पे जैसे टॉपिक था कि नेशनल लेवल पे कास्ट सेंसस किया जाना चाहिए, तो नेशनल लेवल पे तो वी कम टू द कंक्लूजन कि वी नीड टू गो अहेड विद द socio-economic caste census instead of going with the caste census. But state level की जब बात आती है, तो states now when we talk about cooperative federalism, so that needs to be reflected now specifically जब हम caste surveys की बात करते हैं।
और अगर आप, मैं मेरा ये मानना है कि अगर आप कास्ट सर्वे करते भी हैं, तो आप
हम्म।
कास्ट सर्वे के अंदर भी ये देखिए कि एजुकेशनल क्राइटेरिया कितने हैं, इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया कितने हैं, सोशल स्टैंडर्ड लिविंग क्या है लोगों का। अगर आप इतने सारे डाटा के साथ कास्ट सर्वे करते हैं, तो
हाँ।
कहीं ना कहीं वो जो मोबिलाइजेशन और पोलराइजेशन की बात है वो कहीं कम हो जाती है आपके इनिशिएटिव्स के आगे। तो मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ा इसको ब्रॉड, कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव और इंक्लूसिव तरीके से अगर किया जाता या जाए बिहार में और अदर स्टेट में, तो ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा। क्योंकि अगर इस तरीके के कास्ट सर्वे अगर आप देखें पंजाब जैसे स्टेट्स, हरियाणा जैसे स्टेट्स में हो, तो
हम्म।
वहां तो इम्प्लीकेशन और ज्यादा ब्रॉड होंगे।
हाँ, वो है मतलब मेयरली आपको सिर्फ ये नहीं डिटरमाइन करना है कि डिफरेंट कास्ट का कितना कॉम्पोजिशन है, आपको वो जो सोशो इकोनॉमिक एंगल्स हैं वो भी असेस करना इंपॉर्टेंट है। जैसे आप बोलते हो कि ये डेटा आपको पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन या स्कीम्स फॉर्मुलेशन में हेल्प करेगा, तो इट वुड बी हेल्पफुल ओनली व्हेन यू हैव द प्रॉपर सोशो इकोनॉमिक indicators which should be a part of such types of surveys. So, Lok Sabha Speaker highlights that there's a need, we need a collective effort to bring about lifestyle changes so as to protect our environment. So, framing policies and enacting laws, they are not enough because आपको basically behavioral changes करने हैं, तो merely laws and policies directly behavioral changes में help नहीं करेंगे. So, herein definitely he advocated for a collective effort to bring about lifestyle changes. So as we talk about this life initiative, Lifestyle for the Environment, which was again an initiative of India. So moving forward in this direction, we are thinking what all possible actions needs to be taken. So there have also been extensive discussions in the parliament also on this topic of lifestyle for environment and laws that have been made. So it is not enough to just, make laws and policies to tackle this problem of climate change. So herein the collective effort of the civil society and different organizations of the civil society, that becomes important because they are working at the ground level. So ground level pe, if they will be closely engaging with the citizens, so that would be having much more impact. And definitely importance of laws and policies bhi exist karte, but as we just said कि these are not enough.
तो जहां तक बिहेवियरल चेंज की बात है, तो मुझे लगता है कि हमारे पार्लियामेंटेरियंस को ही थोड़ा बिहेवियरल चेंज में लीड करनी चाहिए। क्या कर सकते हैं? सबसे पहला, जो ईवी व्हीकल्स की आज के टाइम पे हम बात करते हैं, तो जितने भी हमारे यहाँ गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर्स हैं, जितने भी हमारे पार्लियामेंटेरियंस हैं, सबकी गाड़ियां और सबके जो पर्सनल व्हीकल्स हैं, मतलब जो ऑफिशियल व्हीकल्स हैं, उनको ईवी व्हीकल्स देने चाहिए, नंबर वन। और इसी के साथ जो ईवी की बिहेवियरल चेंज की हम बात करते हैं, वो कहीं ना कहीं रोबस्ट हो जाएगी और उसकी जो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन है वो भी काफी लार्ज स्केल तक जाएगी। तो एक बिहेवियरल चेंज स्पेशली इन द ईवी सेक्टर, दिस इज माय सजेशन।
यस, मतलब अगर लीडरशिप लेवल पे हमें चेंजेस दिखेंगे तो डेफिनेटली दैट वुड बी हेल्पिंग एंड ट्रिकलिंग इट डाउन एट द लोअर लेवल आल्सो. सो
I would like to give the example of South West Delhi. Here, the district magistrate of Southwest Delhi and the SDM of Southwest Delhi both are creating this wave by having the official vehicle as well as the personal vehicle, the EV vehicle. So that is creating a lot of behavioral change.
Union Minister Nitin Gadkari sir, even he's been taking this initiative forward. He's been using a hydrogen fueled vehicle. So even that comes in news or as a social media platform. So when we see several leaders would be taking up this initiative and reflecting that they are also making certain lifestyle changes in their own lives. So that would be again leaving a positive impact on the minds of citizens also. So core issue जो है between India Canada is Canada being safe haven for the terrorists. So this is what India do not support. So New Delhi committed to ensuring parity in the diplomatic presence, and we have urged Ottawa to take more seriously the obligation to ensure security of Indian diplomats and the missions. And Canadian speaker opts out of the summit in India. So this is the core issue, and we've like this is a repeated topic, so we'll not take up this in a much more detailed manner. So NSG chief का कहना ये है कि India should learn the lessons from attack on Israel. So herein he said कि in the wake of the terror attack जो Israel के ऊपर किया गया, India needs to have a crisis management response framework at the national level on extreme terrorist scenarios. अगर पॉसिबली फ्यूचर में ऐसा कुछ होता है तो फॉर द प्रिपेयर्डनेस लेवल हमारे पास क्या आज के टाइम में ऐसा कोई मैनेजमेंट फ्रेमवर्क एग्जिस्ट करता है अगर सपोज फ्यूचर में कोई एक्सट्रीम टेररिस्ट सिनेरियो क्रिएट हो जाता है? तो अभी के लिए तो द आंसर इज नो. सो दिस इज व्हाट द मेजर लेसन कैन बी फॉर इंडिया. एंड ही सेड कि डिस्पाइट जो हम टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट्स देख रहे हैं इंडिया में, इट इज द मैन एंड वेपन which make the final difference. So he said कि scale और जो proportion है of unprecedented terror attacks Israel में जो किए जा रहे हैं, it would never have been envisaged as the terrorists they could get under the radar of extremely sophisticated technological infrastructure and perpetrated the ghastly attack. So this is the situation when we see कि इसराइल की जो हम टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट्स की बात करते हैं, आयरन डोम की बात करते हैं, उसके बाद इतना डेडली अटैक सक्सेसफुली carried out kiya gaya by Hamas. So this there are two lessons. So firstly to jo critical crisis management response framework hona chahiye national level pe so as to deal with the extreme terrorist scenarios, while jo hamara reliance hai on the technology, that is also imperative. It has to be complemented with highly skilled personals at the same time who are at the pinnacle of their craft. So as we talked, ki man and weapon technology and the skills, they are going to be an important part. So we need to invest in the skills upgradation of our personals who are the ultimate redeemers in a terrorist response mechanism. So these are again two very important lessons. So Israel के पास military options क्या exist करते हैं after this Hamas cross border attack जो किया गया. So firstly, though, it is being said that this was a failure of the intelligence agencies of Israel, that they couldn't again anticipate such an attack from Hamas. Over 1,350 Palestinians, they have been killed so far in this Israel's bombing of Gaza in the 6 days that followed surprise attack by the Hamas. And herein we have like certain factual details also, like 1978 mein Operation Litani, Israel invaded the southern Lebanon to push the Palestinian militants north of the Litani River. So again, from the perspective of map work also, आप ये important river names जो mention किए गए हैं वो note down कर सकते हो. Apart from this, जो important lakes located है. Then apart from this, we see कि war with Hezbollah 2006 में Israel, it would attack Lebanon again, this time to weaken Hezbollah after a cross-border ambush by the Shia militants. Israel, it would carry out the devastating airstrikes on the Lebanon and then send their troops on for a ground war. So even this time we are seeing now it is preparing for a ground attack also. So throughout the war, Hezbollah, it would effectively resist the Israeli troops on the ground and continue to fire the rockets and the short-range missiles. So war would finally come to an end after a ceasefire, and Israel, it claimed it substantially weakened Hezbollah, but the war boosted Hezbollah's political standing in Lebanon. And ever since, the group it has amassed a huge stockpile of missiles and other weaponry. So एक क्वेश्चन ये भी उठता है कि इतना सारा वेपन उनके पास आ कहाँ से रहा है. Then military goals cut to the present. We talk about Mr. Netanyahu. He wants to destroy Hamas military infrastructure and weaken the Islamist outfit. So definitely this is a clear-cut target that they have. So his troops would go in, meet their immediate goals and pull back. So they are planning for a ground attack against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So we see that apart from this, अगर उनका current objective है to destroy Hamas, he will have to topple the Hamas government also, bring the enclave under this Israel's direct military occupation after a gap of 18 years, and be ready to fight a long urban war of attrition with the militia group in an overcrowded, impoverished, hostile enclave. So consequences जो हमने देखे 1982 के war के दौरान, they are hard to predict right now this time. So not doing enough is also not an option for him, and इसकी वजह से this can even weaken Israel's position also in a way कि if he is not doing enough, so there could be more possible attacks by Hamas against Israel.
I think ये दोनों ही जो स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, इजराइल और पैलेस्टीन एंड स्पेशली अब ये हमास जो है, ये तो तय है कि इजराइल को थोड़ा बहुत हार्म तो सहना पड़ेगा, लेकिन if the Palestinian is having this ideology that they are going to destroy the Israel, so they are very much wrong.
हाँ,
Because
डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं कर सकते हैं, डिस्ट्रॉय करना तो पॉसिबल नहीं है इजराइल को.
because either today or tomorrow they are going to kill everyone who have been infiltrated and who have done this terror attack. So
काउंटर पार्टीज भी हैं, वो भी हम उनको फॉर ग्रांटेड नहीं ले सकते. इजराइल जैसे हमास है या फिर पैलेस्टीन की आप बात करो, पीएलओ की बात करो, क्योंकि अगर इजराइल ये अटैक नहीं एंटिसिपेट कर पाए तो एक वो भी इजराइल के लेवल पे एक बड़ा फेलियर ही है.
तो दोनों को ही ये सोचना चाहिए कि मतलब एक दूसरे को इस तरीके से टाइमली फ्रीक्वेंटली मार करके क्या कोई सोल्यूशन निकल सकता है, नहीं निकल सकता है. बिकॉज आई वुड लाइक टू साइट वन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir. I think his name is Dr. Malik. He gave a very beautiful statement that if the Pakistan terrorists and the terror-based outfits of India who are operating in India, including everyone, if they are thinking that they are going to destroy India, that is not going to happen at any cost of. So the only thing is a dialogue on a peaceful note. So that is the only solution, and these stakeholders should try to understand the relevance of the dialogue, because this is not going to help out anyone.
Yes, so solution is important instead of going with attacks, and definitely this holds true for the third party countries who are supporting this attack as well.
Yes.
So coming to the business page, we see index of industrial production, even that has increased. to high of 10.3%. So industrial activity is also growing. We are seeing number of orders growing up. So this reflects that economy is functioning with good momentum, and जो monthly हमें figures मिलती है, they are indicating कि manufacturing activity कैसे perform कर रही है. But we are seeing weaker exports, they impact some segments. जब हम बात करते हैं output in the consumer goods, that remains mixed. With the capital goods, they saw record high production. So India की जो tea industry है, that is an acute financial crisis that has been highlighted by the Indian Tea Association in a report. So it is passing through a phase of acute financial crisis with the prices not keeping pace with the rising cost of production. So इसकी वजह से जो financial crisis है, that is emerged कि cost of production has been rising, but proportionately जो ultimately tea prices है market में वो increase नहीं हुए हैं. So Iran exports, they have also dropped. So export scenario, it is grim as your shipments to Iran hai, which constitutes almost 20% of the total tea exports of India. Even they are uncertain at this point of time. So this is due to, jo again, payment issues are causing financial stress to the exporters. Now we'll continue with part 2 of this video.